2 days ago, I turned 20 years old. Yes, I was born in 2003, and that means I am part of the generation that is still very, very homesick. And by homesick, I don't mean for a place. I mean that everyone in my generation seems to be longing for their childhood, essentially. I see it in all of the media, the music, movies, TV shows, memes. Everything that my generation loves and seems to appreciate is very nostalgia based. And I'm not sure if that's just my generation or if it's actually a thing that happens all the time with most generations. But regardless, it's still a theme that continues to come up in all of the media I see from my generation. For example, liminal spaces are very popular right now. There are great videos on YouTube already about what a liminal space is and what they mean, so I'll link those in the description, but a lot of liminal spaces seem to be very nostalgia driven, and a lot of them are very birthday oriented as well. You know those buildings where there's a ton of bouncy houses everywhere, inflatable slides, obstacle courses, things like that? I used to have a lot of birthday parties at those types of places, and literally like every kid I knew would be there, and kids would be just running around going from inflatable to inflatable, getting brush burns, throwing ourselves down inflatable slides. And after all the fun was had, all the kids would go into this little party room. We would eat pizza, chips in a big bowl, and the chips would be already stale by the time we got to them. But after that, there would be a cake. You all sing happy birthday, and the birthday kid blows out the candles. Everyone claps, you know. And there's a very popular liminal space that is just that party room totally empty. And I want to talk about why I think that's a popular liminal space in a little bit, but before that, I want to talk about how I celebrated my 20th birthday 2 days ago. So I grew up in Louisiana, and that's where everyone I know is. Basically, like 95% of the people I've ever known in my life are from there. I lived there for the first 18 years of my life. I still go back home there during breaks from school and stuff, but I'm currently going to university in Florida, and I barely know anyone here. It's currently the summer, and I'm doing summer classes here. So this is the first summer I've been away from home, and it's also the first birthday where I've been away from home. So I don't really know many people to celebrate with. It would be kind of awkward if I invited a bunch of acquaintances to all go throw ourselves down inflatable slides together, so that didn't happen. I kind of just spent the entire day on my birthday driving around to different stores and restaurants that I have accounts to, so I could get a free birthday gift there. I got a free smoothie, I got a free milkshake, I got a free mini bundt cake. You know, I got $10 off at a couple places. And that's basically all I did. Some people called me to say happy birthday, some people texted me, some, cake emojis or whatever. It was kind of isolating. It's the first time I've celebrated my birthday by myself, and there was no cakes, there was no candles, there was no pizza, there was no bouncy houses. It was just me driving around. And also something that was extremely aggravating the entire day was maybe last week someone, I guess, who lives in my dorm went around and put a bunch of little flyers on people's cars, like on their windshields. I don't even know what it was for. It's for some, I don't know, whatever. They were advertising something. The flyer was made of some like thick paper. Anyway, the sun is just super hot right now. It's like the hottest summer of all time or something right now. And I'm in Florida, so it's just extremely hot. And the flyer stuck to my windshield. The flyer stuck to my windshield, basically like a sticker. And I had to like peel it off, but none of it came off. Like just the surface came off, and there's just still like this sticky stuff just melted to the front of my windshield. And it's just a little square at the bottom, but like it's so aggravating to drive around with because I just keep seeing it and I keep thinking like, oh my god, like I need to scrape that off somehow. And it's just really aggravating, which I kind of feel is like, I feel like that's an adult thing to worry about. Like as a kid, I used to put stickers on the freaking windows of my mom's car, and like sometimes they would not be able to peel off. It would just be the white stuff, you got to get like the goo gone and like scrape it off with your fingernails. But I never had to worry about that. I just would put the stickers on and look out the window. But now I'm 20 and I need to worry about this little stupid flyer that someone put on my windshield that got stuck to it. So I guess that's how I know that I'm older. It used to be the case that I knew I was older because all my friends were surrounding me and I was blowing out the candles after everyone sang to me, you know, all covered in sweat and brush burns after being on the inflatables. But this year there was no pizza and cake. There was no anything like that. So it doesn't really feel like I got older. Like I feel the same. You know, it was just another day. So this leads me back to the empty party room, liminal space. I think liminal spaces, a lot of people experience them as very nostalgic and maybe happy, but I feel like that's a very small portion of people. Usually liminal spaces are perceived as very eerie or creepy or unsettling. I think it's because we're looking at a corpse. There was this beautiful moment that used to be full of life and excitement and used to be a part of our lives all the time, but now they're just not. You know, the party room is empty or torn down and replaced with a different building now. There is no life and excitement being brought into a party room like that nowadays, at least for the people that have grown up. So to see that space with no one in it is like looking at a corpse, this thing that used to have life and have an influence on us that kind of faded out and is no longer with us. And you'll see it in a lot of other liminal spaces too. There'll be places from the past, arcade rooms, malls that have since been torn down, empty classrooms, public swimming pools, all places that used to be visited frequently in our childhoods that now we just don't, or we don't have time for, or they've been lost to time through the decades. And if my reading of liminal spaces is correct, then that begs the question, why? What fulfillment or enjoyment are we getting out of staring at these corpses and reminiscing on the past? I think a lot of it has to do with clinging to old traditions or old patterns, and maybe my generation is in a stage of grieving the past right now. I think for a lot of us, some things were stripped away from us that we were expected to have, and I'm referring specifically to the pandemic right now, but just basic things that have been lost to time as well, we're still grieving nowadays. And I do think that there is an unhealthy obsession with clinging to the past. Again, like I mentioned before, a lot of the media and the music and the memes that are popular now are sort of distorted recreations of the past. And it doesn't even have to be sad, like hyperpop. I think hyperpop kind of comes from all of the really shitty like dubstep and EDM music that we grew up on, or like creeped its way into radio music by the 2010s. Hyperpop is kind of an accelerationist revival of those musical genres that we grew up on. And I don't think it's necessarily negative. I think that maybe hyperpop is a positive engagement with past traditions. It's not like we're staring at corpses. It's not a corpse of what's died. It's the child of the past thing. Anyway, obviously everything comes from something. Our new traditions come from our previous traditions. And though I do see my generation having an unhealthy obsession with the past, I do think that there is a healthy engagement with nostalgia that can be had. And I think a lot of people do have a very healthy engagement with nostalgia, but I do think the internet has kind of let it get a little overboard, or maybe it's just the circles that I'm in on the internet. Anyway, I think the point that I'm trying to get at is that my generation, 2003 babies, people who are turning 20 this year, we need to make a more active effort to be deliberate about what types of nostalgia we're engaging in. There is some level of mourning the past that needs to happen, and recognizing that the traditions we grew up on or the birthday parties we used to have as kids are not going to happen anymore. But that doesn't mean they need to be replaced with lonely, sad traditions of driving around and being annoyed at your car. I also guess that I'm extrapolating the advice I need to give myself to a general audience, but liminal spaces are fun to look at. It's fun to remember the past and remember those old birthday parties. But what happens when you have a birthday and nothing is going on? We need to find new ways to celebrate. We need to find new things to be excited about, new milestones to look forward to, rather than purely reminiscing on the old milestones that we've already reached. So I guess this is mostly just advice that I want to give to myself, and hopefully other people will get something from it. But going forward, I think for my 21st birthday and beyond, I want to create new experiences, new traditions, plan something for myself, because I don't have any adults to plan my birthday parties for me and invite all my friends, because I'm the adult now. So it's on me to create those experiences for myself. They're not going to be handed to me. And I don't think that's necessarily sad. I think there's some power in that. And once that can be realized, I think maybe it'll be easier to mourn the past and look forward to a bright future ahead, rather than continuing to reminisce on previous events. Hopefully those jumbled thoughts came out in a coherent manner and this video meant something to you. If you're turning 20 this year, happy birthday, 2003 babies for the win. And I guess that's all I have to say. So that's it. See you later.